Hi guys, my name is Abby, and as you know, I'm one of the co-founders here at the UR platform. This video is just a little for you to get a little bit to know about me and my spiritual background and kind of like what I'm bringing to the table. I'm currently in a park by myself. No one else is here, so if you hear cars in the background, like that's what's happening. As some of you guys know, I'm from a huge family. By huge, I mean I'm one of 11 siblings. 8 of my siblings are adopted, and I have 2 biological brothers. Growing up in a big family is kind of crazy. You always have something to do, you're always going like somewhere. Life kind of moves in like this like super fast-paced environment. However, my parents were 2 huge role models for me, and as they really showed me what it looks like to love others the way Jesus loved them. I grew up by all means as probably like a goody two-shoes, as you may say. I did all the right things. I know how to say, I know all the Christian answers, and I grew up going to youth group. So Bible stories were never something that was not unfamiliar to me. When I was roughly 11 years old, I went to a Christian camp for the very first time, away from my parents, away from everyone, where I heard the gospel in a way that I haven't heard it before. I thought I knew all the right answers. I thought I knew all the Christian terms, but when I was hearing this preacher preach on this specific verse that said, essentially saying that as soon as you commit one sin, you're convicted of them all. And in my mind, as a young junior high girl, I thought that I had done everything right, that I didn't really need to ask God to be my savior because I already had done all the right answers, I already knew all the things, and then all of a sudden I was reading this verse that basically saying that I was like, I'm just as sinful as like a murderer, which is so crazy, and it was like mind-blowing. And I just remember sitting there feeling so convicted and dirty and unworthy, and then he said that Christ still loves us. That even though there's nothing good that can come from us, that he still cares about us and he still wants us. And he wants us and we're his children. And so it was there around that bonfire when I was 11 years old that I committed my life to Christ, to being all in for whatever he had to offer. Fast forward to high school, and I'm just on fire for the gospel. I'm starting Bible studies with my friends, I'm speaking out in like Christian clubs, and just really doing whatever I can to share the God's love that he has given me. And even though I am a sinner, nothing good about me exists except for through Christ. And it was amazing to see God work in so many crazy ways. I just was like so humbled by the whole thing. But then I realized when I stopped to look, that within telling so many people about the gospel, within knowing the right answers, I stopped pursuing the Lord. I just kind of accepted that, oh, my relationship was okay where it was. And I didn't really need any new information. I had been like, oh, I've reached like the pinnacle of being a Christian, and now there's nothing else. I can't get any more information. I can't love God more. You know, like I just like that was it. And like I'm doing all the right things, but something kind of felt missing. Senior year kind of rolls around, and I'm applying for colleges. I'm doing all these things, and no matter like what I was pursuing, something always like fell off. I'm like, no, this is not what I'm supposed to do. This is not what I'm supposed to do. I was just kind of going through the motions of what everyone else around me was doing, applying for schools, visiting colleges. Until one day, my mom actually sat me down and she's like, hey, Abby, you remember that gap year program that you did, that you like learned about at Christian camp called the Joshua Wilderness Institute? And I was like, yeah, but like that's a lot of money, and I need to go to college, and I need to get a degree, and I need to go do all these things, you know, because that's what the world tells us. And she's like, yeah, I think you should apply for that. And I just remember like reading and looking on the website, and I was like, all right, you know what? I think you're right. Maybe I will. And so I go and I submit my application. And as soon as I hit submit, I feel God's like overwhelming like presence of being like, you're getting in. I do not know why. I do not know like why I was so confident about that, but I knew my life was going to change at that moment. I knew that this gap year was not going to leave me the same person as I was going into it. And you know, that terrified me because my sinful nature, I didn't want to change. I didn't want to have to grow in my relationship because I was comfortable. But that's where Satan uses us the most, is when we're comfortable, when we're not pursuing him in everything we do. And so, you know what? I said yes. And I took a leap of faith, and I ended up at this incredible Joshua Wilderness Institute where I learned how to pursue God. I learned how to feel him, not even know about him, but feel him, and how to discern his voice in my life. It was not easy. That was one of the hardest years that I've ever experienced. A lot of people who did the program with me will also say this, but it's the best, worst year of your life. You learn so much and you grow so much in such like a small little environment. You do so many cool things and go on so many cool trips, but then you leave. And there's this phrase that says, when Joshua ends, it begins. And if that is not the most true phrase I've ever heard in my entire life, then seriously. When Joshua ends, it begins. And I just felt the world trying to stomp on my relationship. I felt like every friendship I had just like wasn't enough because it wasn't what I had when I was during the gap year. Or I didn't have like 24 hours in a day to like read the Bible, and I had to go get a job, and I had to figure out what I was doing with my life, and I was just lost. And within that loss and confusion, I started falling away from God. The more I read his word, the more convicted I would feel, so I just stopped reading the Bible. Because if I didn't listen to him, maybe it would go away. And when I stopped doing that, doubt started coming. Insecurity started coming. I started feeling less than worthy. I felt dirty and fearful and doubted everything about who I was. I started letting the world's voices define who I was. The world's voices tell me how I should act and what I should do. And I was lost and confused because I knew, deep down, I knew that's not who I was. But at the same time, it was so loud and so powerful that I was just like, I know this isn't the truth, but I'm unworthy of what I know the truth is. And if I'm being really honest, it wasn't until recently, in the past like year, that I was forced to sit down and acknowledge these lies that I had been feeding myself. I was walking around anxious. I was fearful. I was letting it seep into everything, like in all the things that I did. I knew deep down that I was not doing the right thing, but I kept on doing the wrong thing, because I'm not perfect. I'm so not perfect. But that leads me here. You know, I still struggle with being anxious. I still struggle with doubt. I relate to the most, out of all the disciples, I relate most to doubting Thomas. I would be the person that would ask God to show me his hands, which is such a convicting feeling. But I am no longer the person that has to give in to fear, that has to give in to doubt, that has to be insecure about what I look like and how I feel and what I'm doing with my life. I am free because of Christ, and because of that, and I get to act in boldness and act as if that truth, walk that truth out in my own life. I still find myself in seasons of doubt where I'm just questioning everything about my life. Is this what I'm supposed to do? Is this the career path I should go on? Should I graduate with a degree? Is that worth it? Should I go into full-time ministry? All these questions are constantly just running around in my brain, but God is just like, hey, Abbie, I have you. Which is so crazy. He's like, I have designed you to act in boldness, to pursue truth, which is so much easier said than done. So I'm hoping with this platform and with kind of my testimony that you're able to pursue truth with me. And I'm gonna stop talking now. One, because I'm freezing, because I'm barefoot and it's really cold out here. And two, because I think I've rambled on long enough. I'm excited to get to know all of you guys, and I'm so excited to live out God's truth as we pursue it on a day-to-day basis. So, remember, you are welcome here, you are welcome in this place, and we're gonna see really great things because God is gonna move, and he is already moving, and I'm so excited. Clapping for effect. I am so excited. I'm cold, I'm so cold, I'm so cold, I'm so cold. I'm from California, I'm not meant for this Oregon weather. Okay, I'm cold. I did it. I broke.